What's going on, people? I was going to say happy Thursday, but hope you're having a good one wherever you are. I'm not going to do a very long one tonight. I was actually tempted to jump on yesterday and do a live, but I wanted to gather my thoughts a little bit first. Have a little think about everything that's happened over the last 24 hours. Hope everyone's peaceful and happy wherever you are. How you doing, Moody? Thanks for jumping in so early. Westy, always good to have you here, sir. And Random Person is back again. Nice to see you here. I will be going live tomorrow again to do a full breakdown of the card, but I figured it was a good time to have a little chat, have a little catch up. I'll probably hang around for about an hour. I think Canelo and Crawford is this weekend as well. So if the time is good for that one, I might do a little watch along just for that fight, because I'll be damned if I'm watching that entire card. Don't even know who else is fighting. So yeah, we'll hang out for a little bit, maybe an hour or so, kick it for a little bit, maybe talk about what's going on in this crazy world, have a little chitter chatter about the card this weekend, and hopefully catch up with some of you guys and see how you're all getting on. I think it will be I think it's a good time to catch up. So what is good? I've got the bottle of water ready as always. I've got one day left of work before the weekend. Let's kick it and get into it. Hope you're all fantastic. I don't usually go on this early, so we'll see how it's going. How you doing, Autist? What's good, brother? I absolutely love your name. I'm trying to get through as long as possible without saying a single swear word and see how that goes for me. The record so far is right now. We're 2 minutes and 30 seconds into a stream, and I haven't dropped a single F or C bomb. We know it's not going to last that long, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm kind of interested to hear what all of your thoughts are about this whole situation. Obviously involving the Charlie Kirk situation. Feels like I'm downplaying it, saying it like that, but Israel is destroying my country by assassinating one of our most well-known political commentators. Yeah, I mean, I've obviously put this in the title, and obviously I don't want to get too deep into him as an activist or the political situation, because while I do know a little bit about it, and obviously I'm very aware of Charlie Kirk, probably in the same way as a lot of you guys are, maybe even to a lesser extent, because I mostly have seen most of my of what I've seen of Charlie Kirk has been through the shorts and stuff, and I'm mostly have taken on his content that way, because I don't really seek the guy out. Big up Charlie Kirk. Yeah, shout out to you as well, Antec. What up, Frankie? That shot was fucking nasty. There we go. There's the first F-bomb. 4 minutes. Pretty good for me. It was fucking nasty to see. I wish I hadn't. I'll be honest with you. It was dropped in one of the chats that I'm a part of, one of the MMA creator chats that I was part of, and I didn't really know what I was watching. And obviously, I just watched the day before that Ukrainian woman getting stabbed to death on the subway. Also didn't know what I was watching until it obviously happened. I was in bed at the time. I was about to get a nice night's sleep. May or may not have had my dick in my hand. We won't get into that. And yeah, I just got a really nasty, horrible chill seeing that. And first and foremost, I think the part for me, I'm very experienced in fucking up lefties. It was a professional job. I mean, conspiracy theorists are obviously going to run wild with this, you know. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened. I think where my opinion on it lies, ultimately, is whenever I watched Charlie Kirk speak, I always felt he gave like articulate arguments, backed them up well. And obviously, in a lot of the times you're watching this guy, it's obviously heavily favored in his side, where you don't see a lot of the times when he is perhaps on the losing side of an argument. He didn't seem to me like a guy who was very often portrayed as being on the losing side of an argument. But at the end of the day, the guy was out there stating his opinion about things, and he was always very articulate in his way of doing things. I don't really want to get too much into the political side of it. I think the part to me that is obviously the most disgusting is this man was ultimately murdered in front of his wife and children. And as a father myself, I know I like to come on here and piss around. I do it a lot. You know me. Um, but ultimately, there's a few things. Take the fact that it was whatever the political implications of it were, or whatever. Oh yeah, and pointing that out, Antec, the timing in which it happened to me was, I mean, this is going to go down in infamy. This is going to be talked about for decades, even in our throwaway generation that we have now. The fact that he was murdered in front of his wife and children, and the fact that so many people were celebrating it on Twitter, my first thought was like, do you know what? And I said this in the group chat as well. Our whole fucking species is cooked, my friends. I personally hope that asteroid fucking obliterates us and we give the fucking planet back to the animals, because I swear to God, through all of this, regardless of what you think of him politically or of his opinions or whatnot, the fact that this was celebrated to such an extent is the most disgusting thing to me. And it was a sad day for America. I don't even want to get into the whole gun crime or the violence, the gun laws, any of that situation. Because that is a very nuanced thing, and I'm going to have a different opinion to what Americans have, and I obviously respect how they feel about gun laws in their own country. So I don't want to get too far into that. I've always been somebody who's anti-gun as a stance, but that's because I live in a country where what we have works for us, and obviously not living in as an American, I can't have too strong an opinion one way or another because I don't live in that context. But at the end of the day, a man was murdered in front of his wife and children for having opinions, whether you believe in them or not, or agreed with them or not. And it was celebrated by hundreds of thousands of people who were almost relishing in his demise in that situation. And that, to me, looking at humanity as a whole, I just was kind of disgusted by it. But I'm also kind of proud to say that a lot of people who didn't agree with Charlie Kirk were just as appalled and disgusted by what happened. And that's really what it comes down to it. I get flagged anytime saying about who I think it is. I mean, the whole I mean, it looked like again, I'm not somebody who's very well versed in how to shoot weaponry. I've done it a couple times on a lark in in a shooting range or whatever. I'm not a professional shooter, so I wouldn't know the difference between one and not. But it certainly looked very, first of all, convenient and very well done. And the fact that the guy is at large, I mean, I don't know how much stock you can put in that. There's going to be a lot of, I think the crazy thing about all this is a lot of conspiracy theorists are going to come out now, and the focus is going to be on that rather than what was like a disgusting murder of a man in front of his wife and children that was ultimately celebrated by hundreds of thousands of people, as I said. And that to me is what the main focus should be. It should be like, this is actually another stain on us as a species, that we have people en masse celebrating such a disgusting thing. I think like I said, it's a dark mark on being able to freely speak about how you feel. And it's not like the guy was out here insulting people. He was giving what he felt were reasoned debates about issues that he felt very strongly about. And whoever was responsible or not is kind of a side issue at the moment. I think out of respect for the man and out of respect for what has happened, the focus needs to be on the fact that this was a murder of somebody who ultimately didn't deserve that to happen. I don't think very few people deserve that. And it's just the feeling that I'm left with is like just disgust, and I don't know, it's just sickening that this kind of thing still happens. The shots and killings are coming from the people claiming guns are bad, not a reason to give up our guns. Quite the opposite, actually. I mean, like I said, the gun debate is very, very nuanced, and obviously, it's something that has been long-standing in America for centuries. And I think it there are wider issues than just whether or not Americans should have guns. It comes down to numerous issues such as mental illness, how readily available guns are, um, not whether or not Americans should have the right to defend themselves, because that's a completely different issue. Um, my feeling is less about what the gun culture is like, because I think there has been plenty of evidence scattered throughout certainly recent history about the dangers of having guns in any society that are obtained legally, but that's a completely different issue. The reason why I've got this in my thoughts at the moment, and a lot of people do, is again, it's because of the reaction to it. Like the fact that somebody is celebrating a man being murdered in front of his wife and children is deplorable to me. And like I said, I like to fuck around a lot, take the piss a lot. You know me, I barely have a serious bone in my body. But this was chilling and disgusting to me. And it's something that I can never laugh off or downplay. And that's just generally how I feel about it. My concern is who hired the sniper, and this is what a lot of people are gonna. This is what a lot of people are gonna flip to. And I mean, the simple fact of it is, Westy, we're never really gonna find out. What will happen is a man will be arrested. He'll give his reasons, but we don't know, if anything, if it was just a guy who despised his views and wanted to make a statement. It was a whack job. He just wanted some attention, or if it was somebody pulling the strings. We're never really going to find out the full truth of what happened. And the truth does matter, because that's what we do as people. We search for the truth. It looked very professional to me, the way it went down, the timing of it, all of it. But to me, the focus for now, for the next, however, just out of respect for the family and out of respect for the way that man was brutally killed, is to focus on whether or whatever you thought of this man. It was a disgusting act that happened in front of a family. This guy was 31 years old. And like I said, whether you like the guy or not, to react like like he got what he deserved and all that, like I can't get behind that. And I would feel that about, unless somebody's some, I don't know, some serial child predator or a serial killer of some, or even a killer of some kind who's out there to do harm to others. For somebody to be murdered over their views is a dark stain on us as a species. And the murder itself is not just how I feel about that. As I've said repeatedly, it's the celebration of it en masse that is the most disgusting and deplorable thing to me. Um, and I just hope that, for out of respect for the man, that gets some level of focus. It's sad that America is falling in front of our eyes. I mean, it's just another stain, isn't it? I mean, I'll be honest with you, Wesley, I felt the same way. I have a very little I obviously know a bit about Charlie Kirk's views. I've always felt he was an excellent speaker. He put his points across very respectfully and well. And he put himself out there in the, all right, come and debate me. Let's do this the right way. He didn't humiliate people. I mean, sometimes he could cut people down with his words, and maybe that there's a humiliation factor to that. But when you're right, when you're appearing right and somebody else is appearing wrong, it can sometimes seem that way. Um, Obviously, I just felt the man was very articulate. He used the intellectual means at his disposal to put his points across very eloquently. And I just feel being murdered for that and that being celebrated, as I've said 100 times already in 14 minutes, is what kind of burned to me. And I felt the same way. I don't know the guy. I don't know that well of him. I've only seen shorts of him, and I've seen plenty of them. But I felt quite hollow last night. And this is something um I wouldn't have expected to react in that way. Like I said, I like to take the piss a lot, but things like this happening should matter. They shouldn't be brushed under the carpet. It shouldn't be. There should be a time to dissect what happened. But I feel like now is the time to kind of show, I don't know, just respect to the guy's family, and and to call this out for what it really is. Disgusting. How you doing, physics? I'm not Lex Friedman. I get this a lot, actually. I've been getting this a lot more than I get like Twilight Vampire recently. So I guess I should be grateful. He's not like a people say people say I sound like Lex Friedman, which is a bit more disturbing to me. But apparently I look like the guy as well. And I mean, he's not, I mean, no Jones, but he's not like horrendous looking. So I'll take it. I will take it. Shout out to you for popping into the chat today. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to get a general feeling of what people thought about it and the general consensus. And we can have a pretty toxic community at times, but I think the general response among our community has been that of shock and sort of disgust, and as Westy put it, just generally being choked up and quite upset and disillusioned by the whole thing, which is the way to react. Who was behind this? Whoever was behind this was very confident that we won't find out the truth. I mean, that's the thing about this situation. I mean, even with how many, I wouldn't call this an assassination because obviously he wasn't a political figure, but this, in terms of the influence that this man had and the voice that he had, it feels like assassination type levels. It feels like a statement type killing. And I feel like this will have shockwaves to some extent. What will inevitably happen with the throwaway culture that we have, and a lot of people have mentioned this, is that there will be less of a focus on on the act and more about race and more about the political views that the man had, and churning through, as I said, a disgusting array of opinions about how glad they are that this happened to this man in front of his wife and kid. And like I said, as a father myself, I can't get behind that. You sound like an even more sophisticated Lex. That would be very, very hard to do. I mean, I'm retarded, sir. But I can because of my British voice, I sound like I'm not completely, moronic. You can get away with a lot with this accent. Like, I'll read out a menu and I can make it sound sophisticated. But if you actually listen to what I'm saying, sawdust in the head. It is really sad. My son was talking about it last night too. I mean, this is the thing. Think about who's being exposed to this. It's another generation of children and young people who are seeing something deplorable like this happen and be made fun of by a large amount of people. You look like a more handsome version of Lex, though, coming from a bear. I really appreciate that. You're the bear, right? Not the twink. We never established if it was. Oh, it was you. We established it was a twink on twink. So shout out to all the twinks. I'm not a twink, but shout out to you guys. It's absolutely an assassination. It is because of the level of influence the guy had and what he was talking about and the kind of impact he was having. You can't see it any less than this isn't just some guy getting murdered. This is a statement murder. And it was like I said, I felt like a awful feeling in the pit of my stomach seeing that, first of all, and then the realization setting in, because obviously it hadn't been confirmed whether the guy had died or not. There was a lot of kind of misinformation being handed around, and when Trump obviously said, yeah, he's dead, I was like, oh, well, I'm definitely not sure. No offense to your president or anything, but his relationship with the truth is not exactly coherent. How you doing, Lane? What's good? Still a little bit nice to meet you, Physics. No, happy to meet you here. It's not usually this kind of, if you're expecting serious political commentary on this channel, you're going to be very disappointed. It's mostly pussy and ass cheeks that we get through around here, and the occasional MMA fight, which hopefully we'll touch upon a little bit later. But it would have felt incorrect on my part to start off a live stream like this without addressing something that is obviously deeply in everyone's thoughts. And is genuinely an upsetting thing. Nobody comes out of this looking good. I'll put it that way. And us as a species of, it's another thing that covers us in shame, unfortunately. And that's just how I feel about it. And just, shout out to the guys, shout out, like, just blessings to the guy's family. And, there's no words are ever going to get them through this. You're gonna have a traumatized family for life. But yeah, it's just a despicable thing. And I felt like I was just kind of interested to see what the community's feeling was about it. It is a political assassination, 100%. It really is. No, man, I'd much rather prefer that. Yeah, it's usually a very degenerate channel where nothing is learned and nothing is gained. And it's literally, it's like I've said this many times on this stream. This is basically like a male support group where we complain about women, but how we can't stay away from them because vagina is so fantastic. See, I'm even talking about it now in a serious, like, I can't help myself. I'm just a degenerate. It's also 9/11 today in the USA, so it's a somber vibe currently where I live. That only actually occurred to me when I went online and I saw the date because I've obviously been at work all day and I've been trying to focus on other things. But it's not just, it's obviously awful for America that this has happened. And a lot of emphasis is going to be placed on, oh, it's gun laws again. And, it's the Second Amendment, right? I think this is a very separate thing. If you needed more evidence on one side or the other, and you can make both cases that gun laws should remain as they are or they should be abolished. I think the horse has bolted from the cart a long time ago, and I think that's part of America's identity and shouldn't be changed. But there are obviously nuances to the whole thing that obviously need to be looked at. And as people have rightly said, this doesn't feel like just like some nut job who just got hold of a gun. This felt, to me, with very little understanding of the situation, a bit convenient. A day before 9/11. Twinks from the gym I also talk about. Yeah, we have to throw some twink chat in there as well because we're an equal hater channel round here. We hate everyone round here and equally, which makes us immune from criticism. That's how I understand it. If you hate everyone with equal venom, it's all fair game. It's like anti-comedy round here. That's how we do it. But yeah, it happening the day before 9/11 is a bit, like I said, the conveniences. And like I said, there will be numerous conspiracy theories about this whole thing that will never be solved. I mean, we're still talking about JFK 50 years later. Um, I just don't want the overall most important thing about this to be overlooked. And that's that a guy was murdered in front of his family for having views that he felt strongly about and that people have celebrated it. And that's really what matters here. And I guess I don't want people to lose sight of that. It's not about the gun laws. Majority of times, killers bought their guns legally. This was not street crime. It was premeditated, well thought out, planned, 100%. This wasn't about gun laws being out of control in America. I think the only thing that's relevant about gun laws is that he was murdered with a gun. That's it. There's been a wider and nuanced issue about this going on for a century or longer. Well, certainly even more so since obviously there's been social media and a ramping up in mass killings and whatnot. I don't think it adds anything to that debate at all. This is more about what this does for freedom of speech. And more so, I mean, Bodak, you said it very, very you said this very succinctly when we spoke about this in the group chat last night. It's, I'm having a brain fart right now. I had a really good point to throw out there, and I think like I said, I'm a bit tired from today. It's just, like I said, it's the fact that It's the celebration of it. As I've said, I can't stop going back to that. That really is what's deplorable to me. Sucks that his family will not get any true closure about the situation. The thing is, closure can be helpful in a lot of situations. It really can. You obviously want to know why and how a loved one was taken from you. But the truth is that nothing is ever going to fix having somebody you love and admire and care about murdered in front of your very eyes for having views. And I think that's the part that's it's going to get glossed over very, very quickly, and it's going to become who did it, why did they do it, and the truth remains is we're never going to find out those answers. Not really. Somebody will be held accountable. They'll have their view on why they did it, but we're never really going to know why this happened. And it's going to transform into something much greater that probably becomes completely irrelevant to the act itself. The fact that some people think this was a wacko acting on his own volition is insane. Paid professional 100%. A ballsy one too, being out and open on that roof. See, I haven't even heard the because for me the incidentals of how it happened are kind of irrelevant to me at this point, and it will be explored in the long run. But yeah, for me it's just the act itself and how it happened and how it's been celebrated that disgusts me. Look at the stats on the US mass shootings when you take away the shooters who were on prescription opioids, known to make people apathetic, almost doesn't exist. People not messed up on meds don't do that. The UFC has an over medication issue, not a gun problem, in my humble opinion. I mean, the opioid thing is another. I mean, that's a whole can of worms that I'm more than happy to get into and debate with. I think that's more of a panel thing to get into, because again, that's so systemically fucked up that it would take hours to cipher through each aspect of it. And again, I think the fact that people are focusing on guns in this situation and using it to further say, see, it's the gun stuff, is it that to me is we're already overshadowing what is important here. Killing people is outlawed, but people still do it. I mean, 100%. I mean, there's always going to be a way. I had this discussion, funnily enough, with the students in my class today. We were talking about, I was giving them statements and asking, you know, it was kind of blanket statements that can be interpreted differently, and you know how important rules are for a society was brought up. And it's just interesting to see how differing people's opinions are of things and why we live in such a complex situation. Like I said, what more surprised me was just the mass amount of people that was celebrating this. As soon as I heard that the shell casing had trans symbols etched in, I knew it was a setup. It's too cinematic, if you know what I mean. I didn't even hear that aspect. I don't even know if you're trolling. I don't think you're trolling. But fucking hell, like, it seems to me like, again, this is going to be filtered. This is going to be filtered through and dissected over the next year or two before something equally sinister happens. It just seems weird to me that, like I said, you had the stabbing of the Ukrainian lady the day before, and now you've got this. It feels like we're kind of, as a society, getting further and further to despicable things like this becoming the norm and just being glossed over and being used to discuss political differences rather than the fact that we're becoming kind of sanitized or immune to the point where people are celebrating a 31-year-old man being murdered in front of his family. And as Lane is saying, as Bodak is alluding to, it's like there's the issue with the opioids, there's the issue with growing mental health concerns nationwide. And that's where the gun situation does kind of come into it. But I'm also with Westy as well. This didn't feel to me like, and again, I'm not an expert in this matter, but it certainly didn't feel to me with the timing of it and the statement of it, just some nut job who picked up a gun and decided to kill Charlie Kirk one afternoon. This was clearly something that was done to create a reaction. And that's the kind of society we live in right now. And like I said yesterday, that asteroid couldn't hit us sooner. Some leaked FBI thing came out saying the rifle they found had the casing still in the chamber and it had trans stuff scratched on it. I mean, certainly Charlie Kirk was a very divisive character. He was very steadfast in what his views on one side or the other were. But he was certainly known for somebody who had certainly, and I don't think he was necessarily anti-trans. I wouldn't go as far as to say he had a hatred for trans people, but it was more he was very clear on what his gender issues were or what his gender beliefs were. And obviously there's the political situation with Trump and everything going on in America, which has been very divisive, even to the point where Trump supporters are finding themselves on the other side of the argument now, obviously having feel betrayed by him. And again, this is what the offshoot of all of this is going to be. We're going to get more and more despicable acts like this as a vehicle for pushing political opinions and having that discussion. Whereas, like I said at the very beginning of this live stream, the real conversation should be the act itself first, in my opinion. How the fuck was the casing not ejected? I don't know enough about guns. Well, I'm assuming what he's saying, Westy, what Bodak's saying is obviously he would have had more than one chamber in the clip or whatever, right? So I'm assuming that the political messaging would have been left behind. So it's possible that while he was firing or whatever, that piece of evidence was left behind. Could have still been in the chamber. Could have been casings that were on the ground. Again, I don't have a full understanding of how guns work, but that wouldn't be too hard to dig up. It was more and it is hard not to see it as a work. He was very clear that consenting adults should be free, but kids should be left alone, which I think is a perfectly reasonable view. I think that's a very rational stance to have. I think his view, that did come across in a lot of the shorts that I saw of him. It was sort of like he doesn't believe that people should have the rights taken away from them to choose what they want to choose, but that choice should be made when somebody's mature enough to make that, rather than having that forced upon them, which I think was a major part of his ire in all of the trans debates. It was kind of like most of the views that I saw him express were mostly about why are young people having surgeries related to gender when they're not in a situation to make a mature decision about something like that, which I think is a very rational view to have. That's not an anti-trans stance. That's a maturity stance. It's a choice stance. And I personally don't think there's anything irrational about that. It was a bolt action rifle. He didn't cock it after firing the shot. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But I mean, again, it's the fact that political messaging is at the heart of planning a murder of somebody. But again, how much do we really know about this? It's obviously very. I mean, they haven't even, to our knowledge anyway. I mean, we don't know the full extent of it. The fact that they haven't, quote unquote, there's a manhunt going on, is disturbing as fuck to me. When again, this happened in front of hundreds of people with several cameras around. Obviously, the access that we have to in terms of surveillance, and I mean, that boggles my mind that something this high profile, you still got a guy at large. True, but those retarded Muppets take it as anti-trans. I think, again, I don't think it's not a trans person sitting on the roof, though, is it? Like, I know that sounds like a very flippant thing to say, but you know what I mean. How you doing, Tinos? We're having a bit of a serious one this afternoon. We're gonna hopefully talk a little bit about the card as well, and I definitely will get into it tomorrow. But I felt remiss to not, because obviously I found out about this last night and described the circumstances where I found out about it. And I'm obviously just as deplored and disgusted about it as a lot of people are. There's a photo of a person labeled as a suspect. Is it true or not? Again, it's very difficult to know what to believe in the media these days, or ever really. But there are images. I think ultimately who did it is going to end up being fucking irrelevant. It's going to end up being irrelevant because we're never going to really get to the true reasons behind why this happened, or if there were further strings being pulled. I mean, we can speculate as much as we want, and we will, because it's what we do. But again, it's another part of me that really felt appalled by all this was not the fact that the guy was murdered. It was the fact that everybody saw it and saw how it happened. We live in a world now where a guy was shot in the neck in front of his family and everyone's watching it on their phones. This is the fucking planet we live on now. Yeah, we're talking about the Charlie Kirk thing, Tinos. I kind of felt like I had to. Jax, I'm really interested to hear your opinion about this, because I think you're going to be on the side of. This is what's interesting. We're seeing a lot of the reports have been about how Twitter is at a meltdown about how many people were celebrating it. But from everybody that I've interacted with in this community, and it's been numerous, and judging by how the chat, I mean, I know we've only got 20 odd people in here, but judging by what most people I've interacted with, in fact, all people I've spoken to have been saying, they're just more disgusted by the fact that it happened, and there's no political edge or anything being put on it. It's more just, fuck me, this is disgusting. I feel sick thinking about it. And having seen it, I mean, people can call me a pussy all you want, but seeing the guy casually answering a question and then get his fucking neck blown out, I'll never forget that. And nor should any of us. And the thing is, the fact that remains is this has happened now. And we really have to look at ourselves as people, to how we absorb social media, how things like this get passed around. This is a man that has a family, and whose family are going to have this video out there for the rest of time. Someone they love and care about being just fucking mercilessly gunned down for political reasons, for views that he had that were very well articulated. YouTube acting stupid for me. Tone, sorry, bro. I did see you in the chat. Hope you're very, very well. It's always a pleasure to have you here, bro. Again, this must be a bit of change of pace for everyone, because I never come on here serious about anything, and it's kind of funny to me that this is the line that I've drawn in the sand. And I think it's just more, again, me being a father and being a fucking half decent human being. I definitely have my flaws, and I've spoken about them very openly on here. It's disgusting, Tinos. It really is. And this is being felt the world over, whether you were a Charlie Kirk fan or not. I wasn't really necessarily a fan of the guy. I thought the guy was very articulate, put his points across in a fair and very reasoned manner. So I'm not here sitting here saying I believe in everything that Charlie Kirk said, although I did believe in a lot of things he said. And I'm disgusted and upset because somebody who holds similar views to me has been murdered. There are a lot of things he said that I didn't agree with. It's more the act itself that I'm appalled by. Sorry, I missed a couple of chats here. Let me go back up. Crazy thing to me is that the guy must have aimed for the dome, but it happened to hit the artery in the neck. I don't know I mean, I guess it doesn't matter now, but I think seeing the guy's brains get blown out would have been even more disgusting to see. I've always had a thing about my neck as well, though. I know this sounds like an irrelevant piece of nonsense, but it doesn't. I suppose, like, at the end of the day, like Lane says, it's kind of. You got to remember as well, Weston. I know this isn't the most relevant thing, but it's like he was moving forward, and I was a big fan of that guy. You know that guy Simon Irving, the sniper guy. I've listened to his autobiography, and he's obviously described in great detail how fucking challenging it is to shoot somebody accurately from a distance like that. So that part of it doesn't surprise me. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy who shot him got exactly what he wanted out of the situation, and that was to murder a person in front of his family and in front of thousands of people and millions across the world, and he succeeded in doing that. So this despicable cunt has got exactly what he wanted, or whoever was pulling the strings over him has got exactly what they want from this situation. Then there should have been extra security. I mean, this is what's crazy. Like did anybody really see this coming? It's like, I mean, you could say he obviously had very strong views. He was very divisive, but that's the more baffling part to me, what Antec is saying, and how was this fucker not seen? But then it's like I said, we saw the similar thing happen with the Trump attempt assassination, which Lane has just brought up. It's bizarre that with the amount of security that's involved in these situations, and obviously there's a known element that this guy is very divisive, and there are many people that outright hate the guy. I'm kind of shocked that this has happened, but I'm not. I'm more surprised at the way that it happened than anything else, because this is the kind of world we live in now. A friend of mine overdosed last Friday. I know the pain. These people cheering over it don't even know how disgusting that situation. That's what I wanted to bring up about Bodak. Sorry, Bodak. Circling back to what you said, it was what disgusts me is the anonymity that you get on Twitter. The fact that people say these despicable things freely and completely get away with it. They're hiding behind a mask and saying these kind of things. That's the part to me that's more deplorable. And I think you made a very valid point that if people were forced to post as themselves, I'm not necessarily saying we should go in that direction, because there are pluses and there's positives and negatives on either side of doing that. But I certainly agree with you that if people were posting as their true selves, less people would be coming out with this despicable bullshit opinion. The Trump assassination was staged. I mean, we'll never really know, but I mean, if it was staged, it was a fucking good staging. Here's the boy. How you doing, JPO? I just did my silk pajamas pick. I'm going to keep that quiet about what I've gone for. I've done a total 180 on next week's card, and I might get into that at some point. Lefty's about to get fucking dropped indiscriminately. But again, I mean, most people are well, not most people, but a lot of people are going to have the views that the lefties are being framed for this shit, and that's what the debate's going to turn into. It's not going to be a fucking man was murdered for having views. It's going to be, oh well, the lefties killed him, or a lefty killed him, or oh, it was somebody trying to frame the lefties killed him, and that debate is going to rage on and on and on with no answer to it. So I don't think any side is going to come out a winner from this, because it's just going to be more finger pointing, more endless finger pointing, when the focus should be on something far more important. Unfortunately, the cons outnumber the pros when it comes to removing online anonymity at 100%. It's like what they're doing. I mean, they do that in the UK now, where obviously to get a nut off, you have to fucking register. So now I don't get any nuts off anymore. My nut getting off days are fucking over. If I can't nut in anonymity, I don't want to nut. Shout out to Glory Holes and porn. Yeah, Antec, I feel you as well, man. It's fucking. I don't think it was staged. I'm not gonna lie, but this is exactly the point. This is what I'm getting at. Everyone's gonna have very different views on this, and this is why it will never get resolved, because we're more. I think we've always been split as a society, but social media has just shed a light onto that. There are too many morons that are allowed to fucking talk about things and have their views, myself included. A celebrity died, so what? Someone dies every day, mate. I mean, it's not that, mate. That's not what bothers me. It's not the reasons why he was murdered, or the fact that he was. I mean, I personally get downbeat about anyone who gets murdered. It's more like I said, the guy was murdered in front of his family, and that's what I think should be focused on here. I think like, I wasn't a huge Kobe Bryant fan when he died alongside his daughter. I was saddened by that, because it's a sad thing. You think about, it might be a selfish thing, but you think about your own family, you think about your loved ones, you think about a young life that was snuffed out. If you've got any humanity in you, you think about those things and you care about those things, whether you knew the person personally or not. and whether it's for selfish reasons or not. Being killed for having an opinion is crazy. And I mean, this is what it ultimately comes down to. This is the throwaway society we live now. And I feel like there's less of a focus on that now. It's more about who did it? Why did they do it? And no focus on the fact that this guy just got fucking splattered in front of his family. Gross. And I agree with Booty Hunter. Sick name, by the way. You sound like you belong here. And you've been here before. Booty Hunter is the perfect name to have in a stream like this. Not this particular one, but on this channel, hell yeah. And as Roger Miller's saying, regardless of what you think of the guy's views, rest in peace to the guy. Yo, name a footballer, soccer if American, for an edit. First name that came to mind as a Newcastle fan, Alexander Isak. I wish him nothing but the worst. And I wouldn't even want him to go out that way. That's how bad this is. And I hate that prick. How you doing? Uncle Ruckus. I fucking love that show. Shout out to the Boondocks. If you haven't seen the Boondocks, where have you been? Check that shit out immediately. Yeah, I've got a very strong and slightly zesty English accent. Shout out to you for turning up on my stream. You're always welcome. We've been getting a little bit serious. Like I said, I'm not getting overly political here or trying to draw anything with the gun debate or anything like that. Like I've said numerous times, and I'll keep repeating it because I want it to sink into everybody in here. It was a heinous, despicable act done in front of a family. And I just hope that the proper respects are paid, even though I know they won't be. Antec not trying to be a dick to you. I just don't think responding by dropping people is necessarily the most rational logic response. And I agree with that. 100% zesty, Syria. I accept what I am. Isak will flop, don't worry. Yeah, you don't believe that. He didn't have his own opinion. He was clearly compromised to speak on behalf of Juice agenda. America first, not aid for foreign country. I mean, who isn't these days who gets given a political voice? But what I will say about him, whether or not he was being directed to do so or not, it's hard to argue that the guy didn't do it in a very articulate and well-revised manner. You know, the reason why there are so many clips of him out there, you know, winning intellectual debates against people. And let's face it, a lot of them it didn't feel like they were staged, and I'm sure some of them were, but it felt like he was putting himself out there and going, right, this is what I believe in. Explain to me why I'm wrong, and let's go back and forth on this. And I think that's taken a hit today, or yesterday, as it were, quite literally and figuratively. Hi, Mohabit. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't speak your language, but shout out to you, Mohammed. I'm done being the bigger man. You lost. I've been ultra violent for nearly 20 years. I'm about to ramp it up. Antec sounds like he's on the edge. I hope you're all right, brother. The early founding Black Gang members fell for the same trick. Fast forward to current times, and the after effects are still trickling bloodshed by the perpetual motion originally set. Beautifully worded, sir. No lefty is safe around me. But this is what I have to say to you, Antec, on like a serious note. This is exactly what the problem is going to be. Because a lot of people are going to be angered by this. And to be perfectly honest, Antec, we don't know what the reasoning behind this was. I think it's too simplistic to say it's an angry leftist who believes in trans rights. It could have been a Taylor Swift fan for all we know. I mean, Charlie Kirk was talking some mad shit about how she should get back in the kitchen and let her husband breed her and stop singing like a mong. It could have been an angry Taylor Swift fan for all we know. And I wouldn't be surprised if they catch this guy and he's like, I did this for Taylor. It's the fucking weird world we live in. What are your thoughts on online speculation on a guy making some gesture before Charlie got shot? You mean like a signal? Again, this is where the conspiracy stuff gets it's going to get wild over the next couple of months and further into that, because this is another big moment in human history. I know it's just to a lot of people, it's just some random cunt who was given his views on a particular ideology. It's more than that. There's more nuances to that. Taylor got fucking married. How ironic. Allah is the only one. He created everything, and Jesus is his prophet. And very last Nabi was Muhammad saw. Alhamdulillah for everything, and all the religions are faker, bro. You started off so well there. Let's just have the religious respect. Let's be real, yeah. They're all very similar. How you doing, VS? What's good, bro? Charlie got owned in just as many as debates by smart liberals. You guys just don't want to see those clips. Again, I've stated that. I obviously recognize that there were a lot of debates that were posted on him that were very biased in showing him getting the upper hand of it. Of course, he had debates where he got fucking owned. I mean, nobody is invincible in that situation, especially when you are doing a public forum and you're taking people on who are very well educated and very well versed in what they're talking about. You're not going to win every single debate. It's virtually impossible. But I have respect for the guy for putting himself out there. And that's, I think you get tremendous balls to that. And he's obviously paid the price for that in one way or another. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. I think, again, I think it should come back to that. Engage, same thing. Yeah, you know. The death warrant hasn't been sounded quite yet. I mean, you know, she's on death row, basically. That's how I would put it. Well, Tino's coming in fucking hard there. He was trying to encourage young university students to open their minds, use their voices, use their votes, and votes, and not fall into mainstream media BS. And I mean, this is another blanket thing that needs to be remembered. If you were somebody who watched a lot of Charlie Kirk stuff, and I watched a fair amount of it, I wouldn't say I was an avid follower of his or anything. But I think as a society and as individuals, we're becoming far too extreme these days. It's like we decide we fully disagree or hate with somebody based on one view that they might have. But we're complex creatures that have multiple views on multiple things. And there are going to be things that Charlie Kirk has said that you disagree with. There's no reason to hate the guy. I mean, if you watched probably the whole library of his work, there are things that you disagree with and agree with. And I'm more concerned about us as a throwaway culture than, you know, trying to gloss over this in what was a very simple, heinous murder at its core. And I think the political stuff and the filtering through it should come afterwards. And again, I'll say, you don't have to blanket agree with everything that somebody says or disagree with it. I mean, you could disagree with every single one of his views, and it's your right to do so. Shout out to you, Jenna Parker. I'm Jenna Melissa Parker. I'm new to your channel, but I just subscribed. Nice to meet you, Jenna. Happy to have you here. It's a bit more of a somber and serious one today. This is not a political channel. I do have some understanding of how politics works, and, you know, I would never claim to be an expert, nowhere near it. In fact, I'm the total opposite of that. I'm just a guy who has been disgusted by this situation. And I felt like I wanted to get a feeling on what the community felt about it. I watched a fair amount of his stuff. I didn't agree on many of his things, but his death is quite shocking, and I definitely felt bad. I absolutely felt disgusted by it as well. And I think that's more what I got out of it. And shout out to you, Adam S. I want to add I'm a Muslim. With that, I want to say that I obviously didn't like certain of his beliefs. For me, it's difficult to wish death on someone, and that's what ultimately should come out of it. I've got Muslim members of my family. Both of my brother and sister are reverts. So I have a respect for the Islam faith as well. And I think, again, that's what was the most deplorable thing to me. It's like, this guy didn't believe in what I was thinking without probably fully listening to every nuanced aspect of the debates he was bringing to the table. And then not just wishing death on the guy, but then when it happens, reveling in his demise in front of his wife and children. I think ultimately what we need to learn from all this is that you don't have to be tolerant of somebody, really, because I don't really like the word tolerant. I think it's a bit of dangerous terminology. But I think we should try to be understanding and respectful, to try and have that as a base. Disagree all you want. But ultimately, we should be embracing the fact that we're all so different, because it makes being human so special. And I think, just like I said, resorting to this kind of thing to get our points across is a stain on us as a species that considers ourselves to be above it or above others. No, my messages are getting flagged. They shouldn't be. It's probably YouTube being twats. Yeah, tolerance is a very, very dangerous word because it has very negative connotations. I have very strong views about how I feel about not trans people, but like again, very similar to what was, I don't believe that young people should be forced into having gender alteration surgery or whatever the fuck you call it without fully understanding the ramifications behind it. But you don't feel disgusted when we have American military or Muslim brothers in Arabia dying. You never care. When it's done from the agenda matrices, you have an entire funeral live set up. Again, I mean, if you're talking to me personally, I've never really spoken about my views on the Palestine-Israel thing, for example, which is what I assume you're alluding to. And I don't know. It's to me, it's like it's such a complex thing on both sides. And this is something that goes back thousands of years. And I have made attempts to look into it. And it seems the further you go back into it, the further the debate reaches in terms of who was there first, who has a right to be there, who's done wrong to who. It goes back and forth over centuries. And again, I don't feel like I'm educated enough to have a side to be on, if that makes sense. So my view more of it is, and my hope as somebody who's not as understanding of the entire nuances of all of it, is to just say, and it might be a pussy way of saying this, but as a human being, first and foremost, I just want to say, I hope that a situation can arise where both sides get what they want out of it. It hasn't happened for centuries. But ultimately, what I want, like I said, as a human being, is for nobody to have to face these situations every day. And it feels like we're getting further and further into shaky morals and being divisive. And we've always been like that, which is why as a species, I hope the fucking comet or meteor or asteroid or whatever's coming takes us the fuck out, because we've clearly fucked this whole thing up. This guy doesn't give a fuck about Europeans. Why should we care about his people? Always one-sided. Help me, white man, please. Yeah. You don't have to have an opinion about every single thing, and that's all right, 100%. And I mean, I would be the first to admit that I'm very open about I obviously have an awareness of certain things, and I've read into certain things, but I would be lying to everyone here if I said that I had a complete understanding of all of it, because I don't. And that's why I try to kind of keep my opinion as neutral as possible and just hope for the best outcome for everyone. Again, it's highly idealistic and highly unrealistic, but that's the only stance I can take right now, given the ignorance that I have. John Jones versus Diddy, that would be a hell of a scrap. I mean, Diddy sounds to me like he can take a right pounding. And I'm back. They can't take our land through warfare, but through soft infiltration. And I mean, that's the scary thing about the world that we live in now. We've seen people get elected from it. We've seen nations get blindly led into decisions by it. We live in a scary world right now that's more easy to control than ever. And it's more easy to influence the masses than ever before, and to control the narrative more than ever before. Nothing complex about it. One side wants power, influence, and control. Meanwhile, the other are nothing more than just village farmers who are raised in war and have a common oppressor. Sounds like a little bit of a oversimplification to me. Yeah, Tinos, on the UFC side of things, I think I might be ready to switch things up on the main event on the weekend. And I'm feeling slightly ashamed for it. But I think I might be leaning back towards Diego Lopes. Thoughts on Islam versus Ilya and Alex versus Magomed 2. Nice to see you, Exo Radar. For Islam versus Ilya, my firm belief before the Ilya and Charles fight was that Islam would be too big and would probably be able to take him down and wet blanket him. However, seeing him do what he did to Charles in such devastating fashion and how quick and powerful he looked, I think Ilya is going to be a problem for anyone. I will say this though, Makhachev's got more pressing problems to deal with JDM, because I think that's a very bad stylistic matchup for him, and I have said that on record a few times. I think JDM is going to be a tough challenge for Islam, and I can see him winning a decision in that one. As for Alex versus Magomed 2, watching the first fight, I very much felt that Alex was kind of outclassed in that fight in a lot of aspects of it. There were 3 rounds that were razor close that I actually thought Alex edged just on having slightly more significant strikes. But in the moments that mattered, where 2 rounds where Ankalaev pretty much dominated him and could have finished the fight, I feel like it's a bad stylistic matchup for him. So what Alex has got to do, he's got a decision to make. Is he going to try and come forward and find a finish and be a bit more risk, take a bit more risk and risk getting taken down more? Or is it going to play out the exact same way where he tries to find his shots and take him out? We've already seen that doesn't work for him. So I can see this fight going one of 2 ways. I can see Alex going for broke and just saying, fuck it, I'm going to knock his block off, and potentially it happening because Alex is dangerous. Or him going to do that and Ankalaev having more openings and spending actual time on top this time. I'm going to lean with the latter. I think that Ankalaev is going to actually get takedowns in this fight and dominate more rounds and potentially finish him down there. And that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Ankalaev winning the rematch. And yeah, as for the but I'm with you, Exo Radar. I think Alex should actually just go for it because he's already proven that trying to take the cautious approach and focus on purely making sure he doesn't get taken down clearly hasn't worked for him. So he might as well go for broke. He might as well go all out for it. Because that cautious shit's not going to work with Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev showed enough that he can hang with him well enough on the feet, pose the threat at a takedown, and that's clearly enough to stifle Alex. So Alex has got to say to himself, right, I'm going to go for it. If I get taken down, just keep yourself defensive on the ground, get to the next round. But ultimately, I've got to go for it because that's his only way of winning, in my opinion. Good evening from Amsterdam, Netherlands. How you doing, Sasa? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Lopes looked pretty good in that Volk fight. I do see him knocking out Silva. I've got to be honest with you, Tinos. I've been saying all along that Silva's going to win because I actually think he's the best of the fighting nerds, and I've been saying that for a long time now. But I think there's a lot to be understood from the fact that this is an enormous step up for this is an enormous step up for Silva, and I'm a big Lopes fan as well. This is an entirely new level for him. I don't think Silva's going to be able to afford to be messing around and to be trying to pull off all that flashy shit. So I think this could end up being a fraud check. I'm not sure how I really feel about it because I like Silva a lot. I think he's very talented. He's shown that he has multiple layers to his game. However, I think Lopes might get it done this weekend. And I've actually pulled my parlay out. I had Gene Silva in my parlay, and I've fucking nixed that shit. And I've taken a different approach. I'm not betting on that fight at all. I'm feeling more confident that Lopes might get this done. Islam versus Ilya. Who won, bro? Please. I think at 155 now, I think Ilya would beat him. Because I think Ilya's ground game and grappling are I don't think we've seen how good he really is. And he's way better on the feet. Way better. I know Islam's a good striker. I'm not diminishing Islam as a fighter. I think he's a phenomenal fighter, very well rounded, and I don't hate on the guy. Like I, I think he's funny. Uh, I think he's very talented. And as I said in my last stream, I do think he has had some favorable situations along the way with the opponents that he's got. But you can only fight who's in front of you. I would expect both fights to be very close. I think Ilya would beat him. I really do. The level of confidence that he's got, how well-rounded and well-prepared he is. I struggle to see anyone beating Ilya in his current form as of right now, I believe. Ilya will be a tougher matchup than JDM, trust me. These are such close, high-level fights. That wouldn't surprise me. Can Khamzat beat Ankalaev in light heavyweight? No chance whatsoever. Ankalaev would fuck him up badly. Ankalaev is a way better striker. He's big. And if you think Khamzat's going to be able to take Ankalaev down the way that he has to others, he's got way better cardio. I think Ankalaev would fucking rip his legs off. And I hope that they don't even entertain Khamzat even thinking about going to another division, because that would disgust me. He's got a lot of middleweight. I think Imavov's going to give him some problems. Ilya is a gaff spelled backwards. I don't. I think Islam would kick Ilya's pumpkin in. Again, I can't call you stupid for having that opinion, because it's definitely not a stupid opinion. Islam Makhachev is a sensational fighter, but I think it's debatable. I'm sorry, I disagree. Khamzat could take him down. What's he gonna do when he gets him down there, though? What's he gonna do? Ankalaev's huge. He's a legit light heavyweight that could probably fight at heavyweight if he wanted to. What is Khamzat gonna do when he gets him down? Ankalaev is bigger, stronger. He's a diverse striker. He's tough as nails. He might get him down, maybe. What's he gonna do, though? Ankalaev destroys him, in my opinion. I don't think we've learned enough about Chimaev. I think all we learned in that fight, and I'm not saying it wasn't a good performance by Chimaev. Like and subscribe to the stream, by the way, boys. I'd appreciate it. I don't think we learned as much about Khamzat as we did about how dumb DDP is and how bad the game plan is, or how bad the game plan was, rather. I think if Chimaev took 6-12 months to put on healthy weight, I think he would give Ank a close fight. I don't agree with you, but again, it's martial arts. And this is the cream of the crop we're talking about right now. But I think based on what we know about the tangibles, Khamzat's big, but he's not a big light heavyweight, bro. I think Ankalaev fucking dusts him. I think he big bros him, beats him up. I think Islam gets the decision on Ilya. I don't see Ilya finishing Islam. I don't hate that either. I don't. What makes these matchups so fascinating is anyone can make a debate for either guy. Anyone can make a debate about either guy and sound like they know what they're talking about. And that's why we need to see these matchups happen. I don't think it's DDP's fault. It's his dumb, arrogant coach. I think the thing is, I was watching DDP, and watching him get ragdolled was painful to me. But at the same time, I was like, he's not giving up on himself. And I had to rate that. How you doing, Godfrey? I'm from the UK, but I'm originally Irish. As I've said multiple times, I've been dragged here against my will. Khamzat would fuck Pereira up, though. That to me is a more interesting fight than Khamzat versus Ankalaev. Because then you're making a reasoned argument of Khamzat has immense. He's one of the best wrestlers we've seen in the UFC, period. And Ankalaev is one of the best strikers. But then you could make the debate: will Khamzat be able to get his grappling off against somebody that big and that strong? And will Alex be able to catch someone who's a bit smaller and who might be harder to hit? Who knows? I would favor Alex Pereira in that fight just purely because of the size and because I still don't believe in Khamzat's cardio. I know a lot of people are going to throw that out there. We didn't see his cardio pushed. And I know Izzy did take Pereira down. I get that. Pereira seems to me like somebody who is a fast learner, and he's shown that in every time he's stepped in the cage. I think he's leveled up. Um, I don't think it's ridiculous to say that Pereira would beat Chimaev, but I think it's a far more interesting conversation than I think Ankalaev would be a horrible thing. How you doing, Chrissy J? What's good? Your knowledge is very good, thanks, but sorry for my English. Thank you from India, Delhi. Come to India, bro. I've got to be honest. India isn't too high up on the list for me at the moment. But respect to your people and respect to your country, and thanks for stopping by in the live stream. I really appreciate. And don't worry about your English, bro. I understood you perfectly. Hopefully, you can understand me too. I do speak quite quickly. Nice to see you, Chrissy J. So yeah, I'm going with Ankalaev versus Pereira. I think I saw way too much in that first fight, and I can't see Pereira closing that gap in 6 months unless he makes, or it's more than 6 months now, unless he makes really drastic strategic changes, which he could do. He has done it in the past. What does that mean that you rate something? It mean when I say rate something, it means that I think of that person or that thing highly. That's what it means to rate something. I think win or lose against JDM, we are definitely getting Islam versus Ilya. It will very much. Well, I think it's more likely now if Ilya gets Justin Gaethje, because Ilya will beat the fucking piss out of Justin Gaethje. So that keeps him on winning momentum. But then you know how Ilya is. If Islam loses to JDM, he could turn around and be like, he's not coming back down to my division and just getting a free shot. He needs one more, and then we can get all of that bullshit. Because Ilya seems like that kind of guy. Islam Ilya at the White House would be fucking lit, you know. It would be amazing. And the White House card is gonna have to be that kind of thunder. It's gonna have to be every fucking fight. It's gonna have to be a banger. It's gonna have to make UFC 300 look like dog shit. Just make sure we're looking out for people on the roofs. Frankie, I'd like to know why I'm eating a can of peas. You UK people are rubbing off on me. Where did this can of peas thing? I've never opened and eaten a can of. Wait, I've eaten peas that have come from a can, but I haven't sat there eating peas out of a can. I've had peas on my dinner plate. I can't recall if they've come from a can or not because I certainly didn't cook them myself. I'm a Chad out here. I get everything done for me. Let's not forget Alex had a broken hand in the last fight. Very relevant. I mean, he did break it off Ankalaev's rock hard head, but I don't know. It was more what I saw skill for skill and matchup for matchup that makes me believe that Ankalaev potentially has Alex's number. But they're both amazing fighters. And I still think it's the fight we deserve to see because Alex deserves to get the rematch if he wanted it. Always frozen. It was probably frozen peas. I don't think I've ever had peas from a can now that you mention it. I mean, that sounds disturbing to me. Nah, Islam won't legitimately make 155 again. Ilya, I think that's the situation we're going to be faced with, Westy. I think that's a more pressing question to ask. I think if Ilya fights Islam at 155, he knocks his ass out. But if Ilya goes up to fight him at 170, I mean, the man is a small lightweight. I don't see him doing much damage at 170. And the margins are so thin between two fighters who are so highly skilled that I think the weight would be very relevant there. So I think Westy's hit the nail on the head there. Most fighters get injuries, though. I mean, this is another thing as well. This is why you've got to book fights when they're available, the big ones. Because you never know when somebody might lose and lose all their momentum, or somebody might get injured and take themselves out of the game. So when you get an opportunity to book a big fight, you take it. And that's why I'm going to kind of always be irritated with Islam for I get why he's doing it. Doesn't want to fight another featherweight, wants to have a chance at being double champ, which Khabib never achieved. I get why he's doing it, but it's just... Del Monte, I put them on the stove with butter, onion, salt, and pepper. I'm not going to lie, that doesn't... Del Monte know what they're doing. Fair play to you. I love Gaethje, but Ilya is going to retire him. I love Gaethje as a fighter. You can't not enjoy him as a spectacle to watch inside the cage. However, I think he's a bellend. I'm not the biggest Conor McGregor fan. I used to be back in the day. But I think the comments he made about him being a shitty father and that kind of stuff just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then all his whining and crying, saying that the that the Max Holloway matchup was basically an exhibition and that he deserved to have a title shot. He should have done, instead of being the dumb shit that he is, he should have leveraged that Dustin Poirier fight to get a fight for an actual title. He went to do the whole BMF thing and to act like it doesn't count and to cry about it constantly. He lost stock in my eyes. It hasn't been confirmed that Gaethje's fighting Tapira, but it's very much looking that way because Ilya has flat out said, same person, that he's not willing to fight Arman Tsarukyan until he gets another fight. And I think it's actually fair because Arman Tsarukyan he ruined a card by simping. He's turned down fights since. And he's an annoying cunt. So when you put all those three things together, he needs to get in there one more time. I think he should fight Mateus Gamrot again. Because Gamrot holds that W. And I think Gamrot kind of got robbed a little bit against Hooker. And he gets way too much hate. No trolling. Another factor why Ilya would beat Islam is that he fucking hates Russia because of the war. So this would mean more than just money and legacy. The Georgian hatred for Russia. But then would he go in there too emotional? Ilya doesn't really seem like that kind of guy. But you never know. Sometimes those things can play against you. You know, when you want something all too much. This is Fiziev's fault for not ushering Gaethje down the top rankings. I totally agree. I mean, I love Fiziev as well, by the way. What a Chad. Should be fighting at featherweight, though. He's a bit of a balloon. He should be fighting at featherweight. He's too small to be fighting at lightweight, in my opinion. So yeah, as far as this weekend goes, I've got to say I didn't expect myself to do this, and I don't mean to again sound like I'm easily led here. I'm not even going to try and stunt. Hearing Guru's breakdown of the whole thing, it couldn't help but make me think. Do you know what? He's got a point. This is a big step up for Gene Silva. So I think Diego Lopes is going to get it done. And I feel like I'm going to win either way because both those guys, I love Diego Lopes as a personality. I love him as a fighter. By the way, shout down or shout in to fucking that little cunt Yair Rodriguez because that was the fight to make. And I hope he ends up getting nothing out of this. The little scuzz bucket. That should have been the fight to make. But shout out to both these guys for stepping up and taking this on. And it feels to me like a win either way because we either get Diego Lopes is back, let's go, or we get holy shit, Gene Silva is legit for real. Because he feels like that at the moment, but the competition still hasn't. I still have to hold off on that and not get gassed up. From what I've seen, he's amazing. But he hasn't faced a top 5 guy yet. And Diego Lopes is a legit top 5 guy. I do allow myself to be swayed. It's not just Guru that I allow myself to be swayed by. If somebody makes reasoned opinions that I haven't considered, I'm not somebody who's like pig-headed who makes a decision and is then like, fuck it, yeah, this is what I'm going with. I think things, if I allow myself to be influenced by reasoned opinions, and that's what I've done in this situation. Yair is just too salty after cheating against Volk and still losing. I mean, yeah, that was just Yair Rodriguez is just he's had so much luck in his. I mean, I think let's not forget, yeah. Yair Rodriguez lost to oh fucking hell, his name's got out of my head. The fat cunt who can't make featherweight. The one who banged Tracy Cortez. I always forget his name. I don't know why. It's quite telling that I always forget. Brian Ortega. He lost to Brian Ortega. I don't care who you are. That is not a good look at this moment in time. You can't lose to T City now and it be a good look. Because he is dog shit. I'm so torn between Silva and Lopes. My decision on this one, ladies, I'm just not going to bet on it. And the thing is, I feel like it's not a fight that you need to bet on. The implications of this fight are so enormous that you don't have to gamble on it to get that extra juice out of it, and it's gonna be a fucking banger. These are two men that put it on the line, and I expect it to be fireworks. It's not the best card we've ever seen. I think there's a few sleeper fights on here that I'm looking forward to. However, that main event is worth it. It's almost, I don't want to jinx it because we know how MMA can go sometimes, but on paper, this is an amazing matchup. And shout out to both of them for taking it, especially Diego Lopes, because this is a dangerous fight to take against somebody who, let's be real, is ranked what, 10th. He didn't need to take this fight. Didn't need to take it one jot. I'll be honest, Douglas. Yeah, as Jari. All right, the Canelo Crawford thing is interesting. I think Canelo. I had an opinion about this a couple of days ago, and I've actually had time to revise it as well. I think Canelo's going to be too big. My issue with I think Crawford is the slightly more skilled boxer, and that's going to be wild to say. I don't see the only way that I can see Crawford winning this fight. The only way I can see Crawford winning this fight is by being elusive and being perfect all night and just outboxing him. Because I think if Canelo catches him, he's gonna get hurt. Let's not forget he's jumping up 20 pounds. I'd quite like Crawford to win as well. I think Canelo's going to be way too big for him. It's going to be a very similar situation that we got to when Canelo fought Bivol. Just way too big. And when the skill level is comparable and you've got a guy who's natural as the bigger guy, you have to go with the bigger guy. I do think Crawford is the better boxer, but he's going to have to be perfect on Saturday night. And I don't know if he can do that for 12 rounds against the guy who's as seasoned as Canelo is. And I wasn't too thrilled with Crawford's last performance against Majmov. I thought he looked vulnerable in that fight and arguably could have lost it. I got a job, Frat. I got a job, chat. Frankie, I'm a janitor, baby. 1 year of applying and applying. Thanks for all the help. Shout out to you, bro. A janitor is an honorable profession. And as a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I'll always have janitors close to my heart. So shout out to you. I'm picking Crawford by decision 100%. I don't hate that. I don't hate it. I just feel like he's going to have to be perfect. Mop, baby. Let's go. Shout out to you, Dan Sock, and congratulations on getting a job, bro. That's always an amazing thing. How good was Mason Jones? Bro, Mason Jones, I wouldn't say I was a huge fan of his going into it. I've always liked him. But fuck me, that was an incredible performance. What a Chad. And he's way more skilled than people give him credit for, and he's got a chin. Does he make the top 5? Hell no. But we're going to have a lot of fun watching him try. So shout out to Mason Jones, the Welsh Dragon. What a performance. Where are you from? I'm Exo Raider. I'm originally Irish, but I grew up in London. I was brought here when I was 1 year old. Didn't have much of a say in the matter. Pretty sure I was shitting my pants at the time. And I spent 25 years here, which is why I sound like this. But I've lived in numerous other places, seen the world, got a lot of experience. Yeah, I like both, but to me, Crawford is the better boxer. I agree with you as well, Tinos. I think Crawford is the more skilled guy, but I think the weight issue is going to be what sways it for me. I don't think Crawford's going to be able to hurt Canelo, and once Canelo realizes that within the fight and gets comfortable, I think he's just going to wade in and hurt him. The way that I see the fight going, I see the first 3 or 4 rounds being Crawford and him just out slicking him, being elusive, keeping away from him. I don't think he's going to do what he says and wade in and fight him because, like I said, the weight disparity is huge. I know Crawford's had time to go up. He didn't look too great in his last one, and that was just a minor weight step up. And now he's going up another 15 to 18 pounds. That's huge in boxing. So I have to side with Canelo. But again, it's a very intriguing fight. It's an era-defining fight. Has it come a little bit late? Potentially. But I'll definitely be watching, and I might even do a watch along for it, depending on how things shape up. I can see Canelo Crawford going decision and all over 10 rounds. If I had to bet on this, that's what I'd be going with for it to go to a decision. I'll take the bitch way out on this one. Thank you very much. Holding down stock, I'm made up for you, bro. You've been an OG of this channel for a long time. And shout out to you. EXO, where exactly are you, by the way? You may have mentioned it in the chat, and sorry if I missed it. But yeah, feel free to share. You know, I mean, you don't have to give your exact fucking street address and house number. I'd never do that on the internet. But a rough idea of where you're from would be nice. I like to get a little bit of background on people in the community. I'm gathering information to use it all against you. Yeah, I hate that, bro. As a UK resident, my friend. Oh, South Africa, fucking bro. Some of my best friends in the world are South Africans. Fucking shout out to the Bryes. And South African people are some of the most awesome people I've had the pleasure of spending time with. Awesome people. Absolutely awesome. I worked with a lot of South Africans, both in China and when I was in Qatar. And most awesome people to be really make you feel part of a community. Used to go drinking with those fuckers every weekend and had a blast. And I miss it a lot. So shout out to South Africa. And yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Like I said, as a UK resident, I bitch constantly about how cards start at 12 o'clock at night and how I effectively ruin every Sunday. But to be fair, this year, we've had a couple cards in Europe. We've had a few in the Middle East. We had the China card that was on early in the morning. So I don't know. We've had 20 cards this year, probably less than that. And quite a few of them have been at reasonable times for me to watch. And I hope the UFC continues to take this tact. Yeah. Anyway, boys, I think I'm gonna call it. I think I'm gonna call it a day here. I think it's gonna be on regular time. So I think Tinos, I think for us, it's gonna be. I think the start time is about 9 p.m. UK time. I know you're in the UK as well. So I think I think the prelims kick off at about 9 p.m. I'm gonna piss off now because again I've got one more day of work tomorrow, but I will be back tomorrow to just have a little Friday chat before the card. And I might do a little bit of a watch along for um the Canelo fight. I can't see many people online now who I'd like to give a raid to. However, because there is 28 people on here. Shout out to everyone who turned up. I know it was a little bit of a somber one, but I think it was justified. It's obviously it's horrible. It's a horrible situation that we all had to face yesterday. And again, I hope the right moral feeling comes out about this and that people focus on what's important. Prelim start at 8. Paradox to Chad, you fucking legend. You're not going live tonight, are you? XO Raider, lovely to meet you. Hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you for being such a competent and engaging member of this chat. Very much appreciate you. And the same to anyone that's new here. If you can like and subscribe, become part of the community. It's been a sobering thing for me here, having spoken about such a serious thing, and for the community to generally feel as despicable as I do about this. I'm going to post a quick link to something called the Northern King channel, which is, I'm going to give you a pink sock. I will look it up. Am I going to go to bed with one eye open tonight is the question. Massive W to the chat. This is what we love. Check out the Northern King. They could possibly be bringing this debate further. I'm sure they're probably talking about it now. It's been a channel that was brought to my attention recently. Another UK channel where they have panels and whatnot. Brutally, I'd like you to come on tomorrow if you got time. I want to panel up hard tomorrow. We might even drag. I don't even know if we're gonna drag. He who should not be named out of bed, and really get into this. I'd like to have you on tomorrow. I'm gonna try and give a shout out to Idaho, but I think he's working. But we're gonna panel up tomorrow. With all due respect, what do you mean by us? I mean the MMA community. I mean, I don't have to be American, Anon, to be disgusted and appalled by a horrific event that's happened. I'm still a human being, sir. Northern King is hard for us to understand, but fun to watch. Listen, I'm from the UK, and I feel like I need a translator for some of those cunts, but it is entertaining as fuck, and they're doing amazing things over there. So shout out to the Northern King. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, and appreciate every single chat member who joined me today. Shout out to Brutally Honest MMA. Shout out to Lane. Shout out to America in this very difficult time. Obviously, it's September 11th. You have obviously had the horrendous thing that's happened yesterday that we're all feeling, despite where we're from. You piece of shit. Shout out to Matua, all the boys. Oh, Matua, sorry, I missed your chats. Apologies, bro. Matua makes a living out of disagreeing with every single thing I say, and I love you for it. Shout out to Northwest, shout out to JPL and to Silk Pajamas /VIP. If you're into community picks, get over there. This is not a paid subscription. It's a site of a friend of mine and something that I love. Shout out to Exo Raider for turning up. Tinos as always. Chrissy J, love to you. Mixed Martial Artist, another guy who's become a regular chat member. Love having you here, bro. Despite your twinky ways, I'll always appreciate you. Western Mass Climber, obviously one of the best mods in the game. And everyone else who took part today. Much love. Thanks for the direction, bringing it to MMA right at the end there. I think it's a nice way to end things. I wish you all safety, happiness, and love and peace. And I'll catch you all tomorrow for the panel. Everyone jump all over to here. I'm sure you'll be entertained. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the panel. Peace.